Afternoon, folks. Just sort Facebook out, then I'll be right with you. Okay, we should now be public on Facebook as well. We should be live on Facebook too. Good afternoon, folks. As you can see, the other Davies not with me today. I wasn't able to contact him this morning. I'm assuming he did a rough night last night and is sleeping. I'll hopefully get a grip of him a wee bit later, which means today's show will once again be done in the style of Indie Truck Davy. So it's Indie Truck Davy out the truck and at home in his office in Salisbury, North Lanarkshire, where it is overcast, reasonably warm at 14 degrees. That's the weather forecast for Salisbury, North Lanarkshire. If you want to know what the weather's like where you are, look out your own bloody windy. Maybe we'll give you comments so I can find out what it's like. I hear it's dreich in the Port Glasgow today. All right, let's move on. So over the weekend, it emerged that an SNP activist had stepped forward and said he was going to contest the leadership of the SNP with John Swinney. Now, Graham McCormick's been kicking around the party for a long time, and his main interests in politics are land reform and tax reform. That's his main interest in the party. He said he was going to stand against John because he doesn't like the direction the SNP are going on independence, apparently. Well, Sunday rolls in. Saturday he was at the All Under One Banner march and then rally, trying to gather the 100 signatures from 20 different branches in order to stand against John. Sunday said he had that amount of people, but after a chat with John, had decided not to stand against John. So there'll be no competition. Nominations were closed at 12 o'clock. John is now the new party leader. And the whole carry on of getting him elected to the First Minister's position within the Parliament now begins. The 28 days will begin the minute Humza hands over his resignation. Now, it's expected that John will carry the vote in the Parliament. It's also expected that other parties will nominate their members, or maybe they'll get together and nominate one other member to become First Minister. It's not as straightforward as John becoming the party leader and then First Minister. There still has to go through the rigmarole as laid out in Section 46 of the Scotland Act. Okay. But John will be the next First Minister. He will carry the vote in Parliament. Now, Graham's quite a character. Now, when I was being told about this, I only learned about this on Saturday night. I wasn't aware that Graham would throw his hat in the ring. But Graham's quite a character, and he's in last year's speech at the conference. Graham told us all that during the debate on the route forward for independence, that the plan being put forward was like a fart in the wind, but that's Graham for you. Graham didn't like the water and doon of the Dundee Declaration. I have to say, I didn't like the watering down of the Dundee Declaration either. And for those who are watching, who are no members of the SNP, who are no as well informed about Scottish politics, The Dundee Declaration was after Humza became leader of the party, and we had a so-called seminar in Dundee to decide the route forward in independence. Now, Mr. Yusuf's idea was the one that we all wanted to go with, and that was, as our MPs carry our sovereignty into the Parliament down that road, that a majority of SNP MPs and Mr. Yusuf would call it would be independence. The majority of the people will have spoken on a manifesto pledge put in front of them that if they elected the majority of SNP MPs, then Scotland would be independent. Bloody logical next move, actually. That was the right call. Humza made the right call because the will of the Scottish people would have been expressed in that election. But now it's been deferred to Scottish Parliament election, and I don't know if Westminster will recognise that vote. But, as I say, the Dundee Declaration was when Humza told the party that a majority of MPs in Westminster and he would call independence. I have to say, that was the right approach. That was legally the correct approach as well. But any event will do, as far as I'm concerned, as long as it's a democratic event. Right, moving on. In the wake of Humza Yusuf's offer of resignation, we're being told that the fight for independence is dead. All right. And that we should all move on and forget the fact that Scotland is being oppressed by a bunch of right-wing nutters in the House of Thieves and Carpetbaggers who do not respect democracy. Now, this comes from unionist, loony columnist Ewan McComb in the Telegraph. He also writes for the Daily Fail and the Spectator, the right-wing loony website. Right. And that one's run by Andrew Neil, who last week, Mr. Neil, informed us that since a democratically elected a Scottish SNP government came to power in Scotland, Scotland is now a basket case and in terminal decline. I think Mr. Neil's been in London too long now. The house jock, he's been away too long. He has absolutely no idea about Scotland. Terminal decline. If we're in terminal decline, England must be dead. You know? Because last time I looked, and I live here, last time I looked, Scotland's in far better condition than our basket case neighbours, thanks to their voting choices. You know? Last time I looked, water was still in public hands, cheap and clean. And our waterways are not full of shite, leading to problems with animal health and human health, wrecking our ecosystem. Last time I looked, we had the most progressive government anywhere in these islands. Last time I looked, our infrastructure's no 40 bits. I'm talking to you guys for a tiny wee village in rural North Lanarkshire. The motorway network is brilliant and being improved. The trunk road network is brilliant and being improved constantly. Maybole bypass, Dalroy bypass, Aberdeen bypass. Projects everywhere. Upgrades everywhere. You know, a basket case. Here in Scotland, we have something called social care for everybody who needs it, no matter how old they are. I don't remember having any of that stuff in England. Unbelievable. As I say, I think the house jock's been doing that road too long. Scotland's far from being a basket case. In fact, like for like, service for service, you get a better service in Scotland. For A&E, to GP practices, to dental, all far superior. The education is an average European education, according to what we're being told by the OECD. And it's just a wee tweak away from being excellent. And of course, it's been taught in buildings that are no fucking falling down. A basket case. You know, the transport networks, brilliant. Even the railways have been upgraded and are in public hands. No basket case here, Mr. Neil. But anyway, that's what we're being told by the loonies doing that road. Nobody here having to decide whether to heat their house, eat food, or buy their prescription. Medicine's free at the point of use. Nobody here is complaining about taxation. We have a very progressive tax system with those with the broadest shoulders help to bear the burden fairly, evenly. Which means that here in Basket Case Scotland, according to you guys, nobody's fleeing because of high taxes. That's because overall taxes are lower than any other part of the UK. We've got the highest average wage in the UK. We're the most productive part of the UK out with the City of London. We're the highest exporting part of the UK. We have the best medical sciences and human sciences research in the UK. Some of the world's top tech companies are here. Mainly gamers, right enough, but they're here. Mr. Neil's been away too long. He's been living in that London bubble too long. Even the bus infrastructure's brilliant. It's that good we gave free travel to 12 to 22-year-olds and the 60-year-olds and over. A basket case. Wow, need one of the press is failing us. When you can sit in London and make assumptions without coming to have a fucking look. I'll tell you what. We'll get a wee bit more of this as we go on. This is the sort of nonsense we've had since Mr. Yusuf stormed down. And then it goes for it really goes from the ridiculous to the absolute sublime. We've got Douglas Ross of the Blue Cuckoos and the rest, the Conservative Party of England and Wales, squatting in the Scottish Parliament. He sends a letter to John Swinney even before he's been elected as First Minister, begging him to drop independence during his tenure as First Minister. Joining Starmer and Sunak and telling us to shut up, get back in our box, and to dump the res d'etre of the party and of a movement. Absolutely nuts. So Wade Ross is demanding that John Swinney and the SNP drop their reason for existing. Wow. I suppose he wants us to go the same way as the Labour Party and drop their reason for existing to represent the worker, which they no longer do. mean, they've all gone mad. Something spooked them. I don't know what it is, but something spooked them. What we do know is activists are telling us there's a bounce on the doorstep with the idea of John becoming the next First Minister. Well, the press is not doing itself any favours here. There's wee dross. We've got all the muppets in the unionist side trying to tell us we've to stop it. Just stop it. There's something not right with these people. The constitutional question, folks, has been the biggest issue in Scottish public life all my life. It shows you how out of touch these buggers down that road are. This is a question that's not now or ever will go away until it's answered. The West Lothian question has not been answered. There is only one answer. That's independence. This question will not go away. In my lifetime, we have put the question of the Constitution to the country 3 times. The referendum of 1979, where the Davies, underhand Labour Party slipped in a clause saying that 40% of the voting population, of that whole population, must vote, and then couldn't do the deed. As being no's. Then we had the 1997 referendum, which got us to devolution, which they said would kill the urge for independence. 25 years on, after better governance than we've ever had for that place down that road, the cry for independence is just as strong as ever. What we Dross and these other muppets think they're talking about when they say, drop it. This is a question that won't go away until there's a definitive answer, and there is only one definitive answer to the West Lothian question, and that is independence. For younger viewers and people outside Scotland who don't know what the West Lothian question is, and most of the viewers here will, but they won't have heard the term for a long time, just use your search engine and you'll find out what that is, okay? You know, absolutely mental. So, we Dross is pleading with Swinney to drop it. Something's got this lot spooked, folks. Something's got them spooked. Dougie, the SNP, Dougie's got a comment. He says the SNP are a joke and Scotland deserves better. They might be a joke, but they're definitely head and shoulders above anything that the cuckoos in the nest or the British nationalists stroke unionists have got on offer. Well, I don't know if you're in Scotland or no, but you can always try living there and see what like it is. When you're paying too much tax, too much water fees for shite and all sorts. Right, so this question is not going anywhere. It's about the debate and the speed of getting to a destination. The destination for the British nationalists is to eradicate Scotland from the British consciousness, and for the Scottish nationalists, civic nationalists, the destination is independence and better governance. That's what's always been about, better governance. And as we've seen with Holyrood, better governance is possible. Imagine what we could do if we shake off that bunch of warmongering and thieving crooks in the House of Thieves and carpetbaggers. Let the people of England deal with them the way they should. Can't deal with them while we're here. Although, we'll have to say, they're putting up a good try. We'll get to that shortly. You know, so anybody here in Scotland that thinks that this constitutional question is going to disappear, I've been on this planet for 56 years and it's been the number one question in Scotland for the whole of my life. And looking at the polling for the young, it's going to be their question until it's answered. And it will be answered. It is coming. It is coming. Believe me. Right, moving on. Let's move on to the council elections down that road. Because there's not much going on here in Scotland, and there won't be until John Swinney's installed as First Minister and the Parliament gets back to business. Right, so let's move on to the council elections down the road. The council election, of course, is taking Gaza right off the map. We'll get a bit of that later. Now, Labour won the election with the most elected representatives, 1,158. And that was 186 more than the last run out for the councils down that road. The second came the Lib Dems, believe it or not. They overtook the Tories and elected representatives and councils down that road with 522 councillors, 104 up on the last set of elections. That was followed by the Tories, who came third. They took a whacking doing, and they lost 474 councillors, leaving them 515. Independents did well. They did really well. It should be a sign that democracy is still there at some level in England, that the independents did so well. And they took 228 council seats, and that was 93 more independent councillors than what there was at the last elections. That's great. It really is. The Greens were up and all, 181. This is so looks more democratic this time round in their council elections, but it did throw up a lot of major questions, and the analysis has went on over the weekend as you expect. And the Tories get tanked as expected, but Labour didn't do as well as they expected. To say most of the Tory vote went Lib Dem, Independent, Green. So, as usual, these things are all analysed. And Sky did their analysis, and they said if you were to project these results onto a general election, then we're facing a hung parliament. That's interesting. That really is interesting, because we've spoke about this before. Hung parliaments. And then the gap got wider and wider and wider, but we still spoke about it. The chances that the way Starmer's behaving, like a real red Tory, that he'll turn enough voters away to bolster the Lib Dems and the Greens in that parliament down there. And the possibility of hung parliament is still there. Of course, this leads to Labour reaffirming the fact that they would never work with the SNP if there was a hung parliament. Did they know? Does Starmer want the keys to number 10? Will the SNP be a bigger party than the Lib Dems coming in? Or will Starmer need bait? Never know. Anyway, the aftermath of it has Starmer in glee, although, as George Galloway put it, he's got nothing to be gleeful about. Nothing to be gleeful about. He got a rebuke to the public as well in those elections. Now, True, the Tories do have their problems, especially Reform UK, and certain areas down there, Reform took 11% of the Tory vote in these local elections, especially in the South East. That could really hurt the Conservative Party in a general election. But we've also got Galloway and his Workers' Party going up against Starmer. And Starmer's definitely lost the Muslim vote. So a hung parliament here is a real possibility. But after the local elections, Sunak, he tells us there's much still to do, which basically tells us we're still a long way off an election. Still much to do. And there hasn't been a flurry of letters firing into the 1922 committee. Mr. Brady hasn't been mobbed by the postman. So it looks like they're going to limp on, steal as much as they can in the process, while handicapping the next administration, like they did with the budget in there. We once again dropping national insurance, ensuring that over the next term of Parliament, 18 billion quid is the black hole for those tax cuts in the Treasury. That's 18 billion pounds that Labour would need to find to plug that black hole just to tread water. I imagine the autumn statement will see another big black hole punched into the public finances, because that's the way it works down that road. They will cripple the next administration to guarantee it doesn't last long and nothing gets fixed, and they'll be back to raid the public coffers in 5 years' time. So, looks like it's going to be a winter election, folks. It really looks like it's going to be a winter election. I'm sorry to say. Turnout will not be as good as it would be with a summer election. Knowing Sunak, he'll probably make it the 22nd of December or something. If he get away with it, he'd make it the 24th. So, Sunak's analysis of how far he's got to go to turn this party around and give him a chance in the next election means that we're going to go later in the year for that election. But in case things collapse and change, make sure you get your voter ID. Alright. Right. Happy birthday, Devolution. Today, the Welsh Senate becomes 25 years old. And the BBC have been out and about in Wales asking the public opinion on devolution in Wales. It was a sort of mixed picture, but most agreed it was a good idea. Here in Scotland, today's the day of the first Holyrood election. Today, 25 years ago, we went to the polls to elect the first representatives to the Holyrood Parliament. Now we know that here in Scotland, devolution is widely supported and has been seen as a good thing. And see all the things I was ringing up about earlier, the social policies, the new tax system, all these things, all since the 6th of May, 1999. So there you go, folks. Happy birthday, devolution. It didn't quite fill the needs, but it's plugged the gap until we get to the destination. And that destination is independence. Because the only people who can fix the problems in Scotland are the people of Scotland, and in order to do it, you must have all the powers to do it. Simple as that. Okay, it's been another brass neck time for the Tories down that road, is it no? The Rwanda policy is not working as a deterrent, as the weekend there saw the highest influx for God knows how long, and the summer is just starting. The seas will be getting calmer. Saturday, 700 people landed on the southeast coast of England. All 700 of them saying, "Get it up, ye," to Sunak's Rwanda policy. Right? Last week, people were fleeing to Ireland to avoid going to Rwanda. This week, they're still landing in their droves because not very many of them are going to Rwanda. I can assure you. The Rwandans haven't said how many they'll take. It's rumoured to be about 200. 700 landing a day. The Rwanda policy is dead. Absolutely dead. And it's going to be even more so shortly. And why is that? That's because the Foreign Office and civil servants are taking the government to court, claiming that putting people on planes to Rwanda is illegal and that it makes them criminals by making them complicit in the crime. That's quite interesting. You know you're getting it badly wrong as an employer when your employees are telling you that they don't want to be complicit in your illegal activities. Absolutely mental. The civil service are suing the government, saying that the government forcing them to put people on planes to Rwanda is making them criminals because it would break international law and obligations under international law. I love it. Chaos down that road. Absolute chaos. You couldn't make it up. This is going to be the most sued government ever. The Good Law Project's never out of court. You've got post office employees suing them. You've got the Warsby women pursuing them. Geez, oh. You've got their own employees pursuing them. Oh. I mean, in the illegal activities that have been going on down that road, you couldn't make it up. I mean, the VIP fast lane, deemed to be illegal. What happened there? What happened? Nothing. What was the penalties for criminality in the Parliament? Nothing. It was a pandemic, it's an emergency. The only people we knew were mates, so we gave them all your money. Yeah. So there we go. Civil servants don't want to be turned into criminals. They don't want to become people traffickers. So I can see border officials being told, go pick this one up, and the border official saying, sorry, not doing that. I can see that happening. It'll be quite interesting. So there'll be no more vans turning up in the streets of Glasgow, pulling people out of their bed in the middle of the night. as border officials say, nah, we're not doing that. We're not becoming criminals. We're not becoming complicit in your illegal legislation. A few things. I just wonder if people can see what's actually going on in that cesspit down that road. I just wonder. I mean, bounce back loans. 4.5 billion wrote off by Sunak when it was Chancellor. Nobody pursuing 4.5 billion of it. But we'll assign extra staff to chase wee Mrs. McGlumfer because she's cleaning wee Mrs. McCormick's house on a Friday for a bit on the side. Wee bit extra money to feed the kids. We'll sue her. We'll chase wee Mrs. McGlumfer. We'll not chase Sunak's pals with a 4.5 billion of public money in their fucking pocket. See, the Michelle Mone things went quiet, eh? Right, how we doing for time? Let's move on. The local elections down that road and the turmoil here in Scotland has pushed Gaza to the back of people's minds. But Israel's genocide in Gaza goes on. The mainstream media, as I say, they're using the election and the so-called turmoil here in Scotland to push the real issue to the back. Now, as we know, there's international pressure on Israel to chuck it, but it's not working. The ground offensive in Rafah has started. The air bombardment of Rafah goes on. Israel have closed off more aid routes, claiming that Hamas fired rockets into the crossings where the aid was coming in. Never heard so much bollocks in all your life. Basically making sure they starve or take a bullet. So while the local elections and the so-called turmoil here in Scotland would take people's eye off the ball, when it comes to the humanitarian crisis in Gaza, Israel's not took its foot off the accelerator. It has issued evacuation orders for 100,000 people in areas of Rafah. Where are they going to go? There's nowhere left to go. There's absolutely nowhere left to go. So they're shutting off food aid again. Aerial bombardment continues. Ground offensive on the way. No real. The people there have given 9 weeks left now. 8 weeks. They're starved to death or take a bullet. That population has been eradicated. And it's colonial settlerism. It's colonialism. Interestingly enough, the Israeli parliament has just given the green light for Israelis to settle Gaza. Meanwhile, Israel's still preventing the international community from investigating anything that's going on. They still won't let the international press in. They've just kicked Al Jazeera out of Israel. It's stunning. It's absolutely stunning what's going on. Under our noses. Last week the MOD wouldn't tell us why Israeli planes are landing here because they don't want ministers to be complicit in war crimes. These people are being eradicated. This is genocide. These people are being eradicated. And the world is doing nothing. And the one politician in these islands who was standing up there had to be taken down, didn't he? He was embarrassing the rest of them. Mr. Yusuf made them all look like barbarians. I don't know about you folks, but I can feel that sticky red stuff running down my hands. And it's no me that's doing it, it's the people who have been elected into that parliament down there, who is coating all of our hands in sticky red blood. Most of it Palestinian children's blood. Unbloody believable. So, well, a few weeks left for these people, then there'll be nothing. Absolutely nothing. Right, now Ukraine. Apparently Ukraine's struggling to man the front. 2 years in, they're exhausted. They've run out of manpower. They're running out of manpower. Meanwhile, David Cameron's out there telling Zelensky it's all right to use UK supplied weapons in Russia's landmass. Basically, invade Russia, you can use our weapons. Or maybe missiles, strike Russia, use our weapons. Talk about poking the bear. We can't defend ourselves. And they're poking the bear. Huh? Where's the strength of this fucking union? 76,000 troops plus TA and whatever. Half a dozen tubs. Mace don't float well. Well, they float, but they don't go. Dilapidated Air Force. The Yanks did an assessment and said we'd be lucky if we could put a couple of battalions together. And their equipment's that old, it's laughable. And here we have Cameron showboating the low stage, poking the bear. Real folks. That lot down there have flipped their bloody lids. Anyway, I said this the last time, I'll say it again. If Ukraine's to survive, there needs to be a diplomatic solution soon. Aye, there's going to be a land war in Europe because they're going to need manpower, and that manpower is going to have to come from somewhere else in Europe. And that will lead to wider conflict. So, unstable place out there in the planet. So the time Scotland stepped up to the plate and started talking sense. And the only way to get that seat at the table is to get out of this bloody union. Election year, folks. Eyes on the prize. You want independence? Party political divides aside when it comes election day. There's only one vehicle. And it's having a rocky time at the moment. But there is only one vehicle to get us across that line. Unless we have to build again. So, on election day, when you rock up to that ballot box, put your cross in the SNP box. Simple as that. Right. Because it's an Dundee Truck Davy, it's only 45 minutes long. So I want to thank the moderators for moderating today. I want to thank everybody who watched, whether they liked or were like-minded to me, or whether they were otherwise minded. I've seen a few pissions, there's things like that in the comments. That's fine. That is fine. I want people to come and watch, whether they agree or disagree. I want us all to be part of the conversation, which gets us to the destination, the logical destination, the only destination. The only people who can fix the problems in Scotland are the people of Scotland. And the only way to do that is to have the full powers of independence at our disposal. But if you want to disagree, that's fine. Do so. Do it politely and keep the national debate a civilised debate. Okay. Eyes on the prize. Have a nice day. I'll catch you on Thursday. Hopefully the other David will be with me. Sorry, I'll catch you on Wednesday. I'll catch you on Wednesday for a Meet the Candidate programme with Seamus Logan, Fraser Borough, and he's standing for Aberdeenshire North and Moray East in the next Westminster election. So that's 2 o'clock on Wednesday, the 8th of May. Meet the Candidate with Seamus Logan. Okay, we'll see you then. Bye for now.